Coming up on this episode of Tom Talks Rubbish.
The final boss is there. Um, I do after work, I do feel like, okay, in 2 hours, in an hour and a half, I have to clock back into work mode. And because you're streaming, you have to be entertaining, you have
Mm.
to talk to the audience, you are watching a product on the TV screen, but at the same time, you're also required to, have opinions or takes or answer questions that the chat is saying. So it's like you have to be on, you have to be alert. And it's a struggle for me just because I do work a full-time job. I get so tired, but it's something that I really want. Professional wrestling has always been a part of me, and it's been a part of me for so long, and it's the only consistent thing that I actually say that I have an interest in. So it's something that it's like I just got to keep pushing through it. It's okay if I don't feel like streaming. That's something that I am learning right now though. If I want to take a day off, I should take a day off because it
Mm.
really does help. Yeah.
What's going on, guys? It's your boy, Tom Flourish, and stand back with another interview. This time, I'm joined by a name you know, the queen of wrestling streaming reactions. I'm joined by the one and only Minnie. So, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me.
If we take this back to the beginning, Minnie, where do you first discover wrestling as an overall fan?
I just passed by the television and I saw Lita and then I saw Eddie Guerrero and I was like, this is great. This is cool. But Lita was the one that really gravitated me towards wrestling because I was like, because I grew up as a tomboy. So seeing her be in the ring with the boys and just look cool, but also but she was just so beautiful. I admired it and I was like, I like what's happening. And then I saw Eddie Guerrero just lying and cheating and stealing and just being the stereotype. And I was like, this is funny. So that's just how I got into wrestling, and that was at a very young age. Yeah.
Was this Team Extreme Lita, or was this, how do you say this in the modern day? Her
I
relationship with Edge Lita?
no, it was Team Extreme Lita. Yeah.
Why do you think Team Extreme Lita spoke to you so much?
Because just seeing how sexy she was, essentially, right? She's a woman and she's
Mm.
sexy, but she's doing all of these crazy things. She's doing moonsaults and she's getting in with the boys and she's also taking hits and just growing up in a very tomboy environment, that just gravitated me. Yeah.
I understand what you're saying. So, switching gears slightly, what was your thoughts then when the whole relationship with Edge did come out?
I didn't know that it was real life. I thought because I understood that this is just, that it's a television program. It's not real, like I wasn't like a mark like that. Except I actually did think that Vince McMahon his limo did explode. I actually did believe that one. Never mind. But I didn't know that it was a real life situation. I just thought it was like a part of the story. So I was like, oh, like obviously I was like boo Lita, but then later on I found out it was real and I was like, oh, okay. And then at that point I don't know what my thoughts were.
Mm. What I'll put my teeth in a second. Why did Eddie Guerrero speak to you so much? Well,
As a Latina, I he spoke to me because he was the stereotype and growing up in Los Angeles and grew up in a Latino household, we just we we find the stereotype funny, but in a good way. I can't speak for everybody, but I think it's funny. So when I saw him lying and cheating and stealing and just just la raza, I just thought it was funny. So that's why he gravitated
that,
towards me.
that's really, really cool. Something you talked about, we talked about like obviously your early influences and stuff, but how did you consume wrestling? Was it a family member that introduced you? Was it, you said you walked by a TV, so how did that sort of happen?
So this is funny. because I don't want to get too much into the details of it,
Yeah.
but my father and my brothers would be watching it, but it was mostly because of the women. Like they thought the wrestling was cool. Obviously, they liked John Cena, they liked Eddie Guerrero, but my father was watching it for my brothers to see the women. It's just weird. And then when I found interest in it, he didn't like that. He said, "This is not for girls. This is just for boys." So I would have to hide in the hallway and like watch it. So I would be sitting down just like watching it while they're watching it on the
Mm.
couch because they didn't know. And then once I got my own television, that's when I just, yeah, that's when I just fully just was able to actually enjoy the product.
What was your biggest sort of, for lack of a better word, oh crap, they've seen me moment when they're watching, maybe you're watching in your hiding place. What's your biggest sort of moment you remember watching on the TV that you're like, oh crap, they've seen me?
Um, I never got caught watching it, but because when I sat down on the couch, that's when I was like, "Oh, I like this," and then that's when my dad was like, "No, no, like this is only for like the boys," and I was like, "All right." Um, but when I saw the, I saw a lot of bad stuff during the Attitude Era, and I realized, oh, maybe this is why he didn't want me to watch it, like Katie Vick stuff, and there's just a bunch of stuff that, yeah, that you probably don't need to watch as a kid.
Hmm. Where is your fandom today as we record this in February of 2025?
Where is my fandom today?
Yeah, yeah. Like, what's the product? I know you react to everything. Better to that extent.
Hmm.
What is the product that you're like, oh, goody, it's XYZ Day. I'm looking forward to this specifically.
Oh, okay. So specifically, I would say, um, it's a good question because it's making me think of what I get excited for because it's kind of hard. I stream after I work my full-time job, but then I get back into work. So I think that's actually kind of changed the way I view things with excitement. Like I was excited yesterday because The Rock was going to be there, but usually I have a very casual of okay, Monday Night Raw, AEW Dynamite's happening, Friday Night SmackDown's happening. I get excited if there's things that are announced that I just find joy in or I know it's going to be good.
Mm. What is the thing currently as we record this that you're like, I'd like to see that happen, sort of thing in wrestling?
I think Timeless Tony for sure. Anything she does, I know that she's going to over excel. Let me quickly just run through the good things about AEW that I really enjoy. Because when you said that, I thought of AEW and I thought of Timeless Tony, I thought of the Hurt Syndicate. Um, I thought of those two things primarily because I just really, really enjoy what the Hurt Syndicate is doing right now. And I would like him to just keep dominating. And yeah, that's those are the things right now that excite me. And then I'm excited to see where this story between Rock and Cena and Cody and CM Punk is going towards.
Mm, definitely. You mentioned there that you stream on top of a full-time job. So how do you keep yourself motivated? Maybe you've got in from a long day at work and you're thinking, the last thing I want to do today is interact with people and watch wrestling. How do you keep yourself motivated in that respect?
Yeah, I love this question because it's something that I deal with on a weekly basis. So I actually had a huge headache last night after work and I would have probably debated should I stream or not, but The Rock was going to be there, so I was like I have to push through it. The final boss is there. Um I do after work I do feel like okay, in 2 hours in an hour and a half I have to clock back into work mode and because you're streaming, you have to be entertaining, you have to
Mm,
talk to the audience, you are watching a product on the TV screen, but at the same time you're also required to, have opinions or takes or answer questions that the chat is saying. So it's like you have to be on, you have to be alert. And it's a struggle for me just because I do work a full-time job. I get so tired, but it's something that I really want. Professional wrestling has always been a part of me, and it's been a part of me for so long, and it's the only consistent thing that I actually say that I have an interest in. So it's something that it's like I just gotta keep pushing through it. It's okay if I don't feel like streaming. That's something that I am learning right now though. If I want to take a day off, I should take a day off because it
Mm.
really does help. Yeah.
What what's the mo have there been moments that, because you talked about there the rock coming back, so that sort of, for lack of a better word, convinced you to stream. So
Mhm.
what have you ever missed a stream and gone, oh no, so and so came back?
Oh yes.
The stream sort of thing. I
Oh
know
yeah.
a joke with a good person in the community, Conman, is
Mhm.
his Twitter is always, I'm not streaming today, so something big's gonna happen. Have you ever had that moment where it's like, oh, I missed out on this?
Oh, of course. It's streamer's curse. It happens to all of us. I went to Japan for a week, and during that trip to Japan, the Wyatt debuted. We had Joe Hendry on NXT. And that Monday Night Raw was just so incredible. And I remember being like enjoying my vacation, and then I go on Twitter and everybody's just like, that has to be the greatest Raw of all time. And it was everywhere. And I was like, of course, of course. The missing the Wyatt's debut was like, it
Was
was
this the Wyatt
gut-wrenching.
Six?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It was the Wyatt Six debut, and then Joe Hendry debuted on NXT, and I was like, why? Well, I was like, okay, so I totally missed all that. And then it happened with AEW. I missed Bobby Lashley's debut as well, but I told my stream that I wasn't going to be there for that Dynamite. So get ready for Bobby Lashley debuting. Get ready. What else did I say? Oh, get ready for I think I said something cool about the Death Riders. So yeah, it all happened.
What about if we flip this and I say to you, what are some moments that maybe you go back and go, why am I wasting my time streaming this? This is terrible.
So usually that's not the case, but I will say there are some episodes. There was a like a 3 week, it was 3 weeks that AEW was just so it I don't want to say it was so bad, but it wasn't interesting enough to keep me.
Wheel spinning booking, I believe, was
It's
the
the
phrase.
the what?
Wheel spinning booking was the phrase. Like, we're trying to get somewhere, but we need to
Yeah.
get so we can.
Y- Yeah, yeah. So it's been those moments where the product is just not interesting. And then I think last Monday, Raw, yeah, Raw on Netflix for me, even though the Gunther stuff was really good, like the first hour of Raw was good, but then it just declined for me, and it was just so hard for me to stay awake. And I just kept yawning. Yeah.
You talk about keep yawning there on stream and things like that. How do you sort of navigate that, what we would call like tiredness and not falling asleep, but like how do you keep yourself motivated? We talked about beforehand motivating to stream. How do you keep yourself hyped on stream, for lack of a better word?
It's basically what I'm watching or how my chat is. And I'm fortunate enough to have built a community. I have built a community of menaces, and they are so funny. They keep me awake. They roast me. They just say jokes on my chat. If they don't like something or they like something, they have their ways of saying it, and it that keeps me awake and alive. So I really have to give it to my chat because they're the reasons why I could stay so animated. Because it's like I'm talking to a friend. I'm at brunch and I'm talking to my friends. Like there's a whole group of friends, and then there's the entertainment on my screen. So I would say it's probably the easiest, actually, it is the easiest form of streaming because there's not so much accountability on you to provide the entire entertainment?
Mm, definitely. You brought up brunch there. I'm curious to know your go-to brunch order.
This is gonna sound bad because all I'm thinking of is mimosas and Bloody Marys. I'm just thinking of
Oh no,
alcohol
no,
here.
I'm from the UK. Alcohol is religion here.
The first thing that came to mind, I would say fruit and pancakes sort of thing for brunch, but I'm a very cheese person, so anything with
Me too.
cheese, yeah, yeah.
Best mimosa.
Best mimosa I've ever had. Oh my goodness.
Didn't expect this to go in that direction.
I I think it was at a hotel once because I had like seven of them. But maybe but maybe I had seven because it wasn't the taste, it was just me, It's just enjoying life.
I understand what you're saying completely. You talk about enjoying life there. How do you sort of realize, okay, it's okay, I'm gonna take this show off? Book vacations around weeks, pay-per-view. You just go, oh fuck it, I'm going on vacation. I know what I mean. Like you just go, I'm gonna build my life around how I want. Just sort of build your schedule.
I try, but I work a lot. I work a lot. So when I'm on vacation, I do content and stuff like that, but I'm not actually working my job. So when I come back, it's so hard for me to get back into work mode. I love taking vacations. I think it's very necessary. If you have the means to do it, do it. But the only thing that's really hard for me is the get back into your routine part because it takes me a week. And every single time I go on vacation and then I come back, I don't create any content. I go to work, but that's just work. Like it's like, okay, I'm working. But content wise, my content actually suffers because I just don't, I'm not, I'm just like still on vacation mode. So,
Why is that? Do you
I just think it's you get lazy because you don't have a set schedule, and I'm someone that needs a set schedule to be productive. Uh, because you're just waking up at whatever hours, or if you gotta go do something, then you wake up at a certain time. But if not, you're sleeping in until whenever, and then explore whatever city, stay up late because there are essentially no rules, essentially.
think? Yeah, definitely. We've gone around the houses here, but that's just how my conversations tend to go. And I do apologize for that. But how did your channel come about and streaming and all that?
Yeah, so I decided that I was tired of being a closeted wrestling fan, and not that I was super closeted, but it's not like I would wear wrestling tees. Well, I would wear wrestling tees out in public and to the gym actually. But it's not like I was just like out, like my whole identity was a wrestling fan. It is now because, like I said, that's been my passion for so long. But I just wanted to talk to people about wrestling, about stuff that's happening because I was annoyed that I would post it on my Facebook or on my Instagram and like no one knew what I was talking about? Because no
Yeah.
one, yeah, like no one around me was a wrestling fan. So I was like, I'm just going to create a Twitch. I'm going to watch wrestling clips and garner a community like that. And yeah, I've been doing it for 5 years now. Mhm.
What was the moment that you were like, okay, I'm gonna, because you talk about you treat wrestling and streaming a lot like work in some cases.
Mhm.
What
Mhm.
was the moment where you sort of went, I'm not gonna just do this for fun, sort of thing. I'm gonna try and treat this like work and see where it goes.
You have to. You have to, because I have fun. I'm not a professional, but you have to treat it as work because if you don't treat it as work, then you're not going to get the return if you don't treat it. Like if it's your job. Like if you want a promotion, you're going to work for that promotion, right? Unless there's, like nepotism or whatever. But if you want to move up in the workforce, you have to put in the work. So that's just how I see it when it comes to streaming because it's now a lot of people are doing what I do. I was one of the first of doing watch alongs. I wasn't the first, absolutely not, but I was like a part of the core that started it, and then now everybody's doing it. So every single year that there's going to be new creators, and if you don't treat it as work, then you're just going to get lost in the shuffle.
Mm. Who are you talk about other creators there? Who are the creators? Because I had this conversation recently with Ilsa, the Demon Diva, and
Mhm.
we spoke about nights that she's not streaming. She might send out a tweet and go, "So and so streaming." please go watch them? Who's the streamers that you're like, okay, guys, I'm not streaming because I'm on vacation or I'm sick or something, but please go watch this, guys. They're fun.
Yeah, I would say Santi, but he's so big that he doesn't need that, you know. But I love Santi, and yes, absolutely, go watch Santi. But so Wheezy Blonde, Con Man, I would say, Haven Raven. I don't know if you know her, but I think she started streaming recently. So I would, Jazz Marie is also a good one because she
Mhm.
has my personality. I saw you go, "Mm, yeah," but she has my personality. So if you kind of want to stream like me, she's like the best alternative. Yeah.
No, the only reason I said yeah is because I was just going to talk about a recent video you did with
Mhm.
another alumni of this channel called
Mhm.
with the Porticus and Jazz Marie.
Mhm.
I'm
Mhm.
really curious to talk about that video where they're both two new wrestling fans, and I really liked that concept of soap opera or wrestling storyline. So how did that video come about? Because I'm really curious about that.
I am trying to do different stuff on YouTube. There's a
Mhm.
lot of predictions. There's a lot of hot takes. There's a lot of opinion-based videos. And I give a lot of credit to Club Wrestling because they really bring in like the different sort of videos to the game. So I took inspiration from that and I'm like, okay, what could I do that's different, that's not so seen? And this idea isn't like the most, like the greatest invention. I'm sure this idea has been done before, it just
I'd
makes
never seen
sense.
it. I'd never seen it before.
Me neither, but I feel like it's been done before. And professional wrestling is just like there they go. So that's how I came up with the idea. Yeah. And the next one, I'm gonna have another one, but this time I'm gonna have two veterans and I'm just gonna do is it a pro wrestling or a soap opera storyline? Because at that point we got TNA, we got AEW and WWE. So it's like overall, if you're a veteran, you would be able to guess, but if you can't, then you lose. I don't know.
Go to soap opera for you.
Passions, that's the only one that I actually did watch growing up.
Mm, That's really, really cool. We talked about this a bit earlier, but how do you deal with like, we talked about when you decide, okay, I'm too tired from work to stream and things like that. How do you deal with burnout as a creator?
Oh, I am the worst person because I'm always asking on social media, how do you guys deal with burnout?
Mm.
I Google it, I go to TikTok. There's so many days where my creative bug is n there's nothing. I have nothing. Like I'm like I want to reach 100,000 subscribers on YouTube by the end of this year. That's the goal. But then when you go several days without any creative juice, you like the burnout becomes even more apparent, right? Then you're sad about not being creative. And then you get sad about not actually posting your videos and that's my kind of burnout. I don't get tired from working. I get tired from, or my burnout just comes like mentally. I
Mm.
struggle a lot. Yeah.
Mm. So how do you spoke about a little bit, like, what would you say if you could have a conversation with burned out Minnie? What would you say to her?
Can I curse?
Yeah.
Okay, get to fucking work, bitch. Get to fucking work. That's what I'm gonna say because look at your bank account. Look at your bank account. Look at your YouTube subscribers. Get to fucking work. That's what I would say.
What do you think she'd say to you if this was a two-way conversation?
I think I'd be like, "You're right," and then I'd just bring up, and I'd be like, "All right, let's get to work."
You brought up earlier as well, the several creators that you worked with and other streamers and things like that. But who are some people in the community that maybe that maybe that I don't want to say bigger than you, but I know what I mean. That are bigger than you in this space that you might want to work with, smaller than you, things like that. Who are some people that you're like, I'd love to work with them?
Yeah, surprisingly enough, I've never collabed with Santi, but that's because I know how collabs work, and if I don't have an idea, I'm not gonna reach out to him, right? Like I'm not gonna be like, Santi, let's collab, and he's like, cool, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I don't know, I don't want to do that. So I actually do have actually it's fine. I haven't asked them yet, but I do plan on asking Santi and Conmat as the veterans.
You may have
Um
asked them by the time this video goes out, but I tend to record
possibly.
and then back, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Process.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
The video
Possibly.
might be out.
But either way, it's okay. Like I have to ask. I'm sure they're not going to decline it. So them BDE is one. Ring the bell. There, Ring the Bell? Yeah, 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 yeah. He's been around for a very long time.
Very good dude.
Um, yeah, and he does great work with women's wrestling, so I would love to collaborate with him. Um, Off the top of my head, because I've collabed with the people that I've been wanting to collab. Off the top of my head, I believe, oh, um, Subway Mania.
Hmm.
I could be AJ Lee.
I'd like that. I'd like to
Yeah.
see. I'm not gonna lie.
Eh, eh.
What is your biggest? Because obviously you talked about a lot of other streamers. What is your biggest pet peeve in a streamer?
In streaming or in streamers?
It could be both in streaming or streamers.
Let's see. My pet peeve with streamers is their reactions towards it's certain raids on their stream, or when somebody hops on their chat that's like big. I've witnessed a stream that I raided and they were so excited for my raid, and then somebody raided them shortly that had I think like 3 viewers, and they were just like, "Oh yeah, thanks, man." Like it was so rude. I don't
Mm,
like that from streamers. I think you should keep the same energy because these are your supporters.
mm.
Um, so that's rude. And then from streaming in general, I think my biggest pet peeve with streaming is, and this is gonna be personal. I feel like my chat knows who I am, so I talk, but I feel like they get exactly what I'm saying, and then they take my words out of context. So then they like say, "Oh, but you know this," and I'm like, "That's not what I meant, though."
Mm.
I don't know. That's like a weird pet peeve of mine, but I'm just like, you've been here for so long. How do you not know what I mean by this time? Yeah.
I understand what you're saying completely there. This is a similar pet peeve that I have in interviews. It's like when someone reads an article from an interview that I've done, and it's like, but you've taken that, somebody's written up an article, for example, which I'm
Mhm,
always grateful for. Don't get me wrong.
mhm.
You've taken those quotes really out of context.
Yeah. Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, or they purposely like crop out a part of that sentence to like fit the narrative.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. Go to go to wrestling belt for you because I see you have several belts.
I will have to go with my blue universal one just because my sister bought that for me. The all of my belts were community gifts, but that was the first belt I ever got, and that was because it was my birthday and she took me to Mania, so like the just everything that happened with that belt is like special to me.
What mania was that?
That was 39. That was just,
Ooh.
yeah, 2 years ago. Yeah.
Thoughts. Now we know what we know, Minnie. Cody losing, yay or no?
I will go with yay because if he didn't lose, we would not have had WrestleMania 40 and WrestleMania 40. That end game of a mania. That was
Oh yeah,
so special and we got to witness that. So I'm going to say yay.
you brought up Endgame there. Does that mean
Mhm.
you're a Marvel fan?
Yeah, I've watched all the Marvel movies essentially. Yeah. I mean, I feel like who isn't a Marvel fan?
No, but I was just gonna say, go to Marvel movie for you, or go to Marvel superhero.
I've always been a Spider-Man kind of girl, so I would choose Spider-Man. But yeah, yeah, Spider-Man. Hmm.
Best Spider-Man actor for you.
Actor, I Tom Holland.
Is there another reason for that? If you know what I mean.
I no, 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 no. Tom Holland because when I grew up, I remember reading like some of the comics. I can't remember like, like the edition or whatever, but I would read Spider-Man comic books. So when I saw Tom Holland, I was like, wow, it like refreshed my memory. I was like, wait, he actually is acting like Spider-Man, like the one that I read in the comic book. So that's the reason. Obviously, Andrew Garfield is number three. As much as I love him as an actor, but he's number three.
Okay, that's a debate for another time. Um, he's my favorite personally. But
He's your favorite. The funny thing is too the what is it?
no,
Spider-Verse?
wait, wrong. Tobey Maguire, the first one.
Tobey Maguire is my second.
Tobey Maguire, the one in Amazing Spider.
No, Amazing Spider-Man is Andrew Garfield.
Oh, I was right. First time.
Yeah, yeah,
Wait,
yeah,
wait,
yeah, yeah, yeah. No. So I was gonna say, so besides what was it called? Spider-Man, the most recent one where all three of them were in there? Is that what?
that Homecoming? I think.
It is Homecoming. Thank you so much. Yeah. So besides that one, my go-to Spider-Man movies is Amazing Spider-Man. But that's just because Andrew Garfield played like this emo Spider-Man and he's so like
The
shy
one
to
where
talk
he's
to
in the
the
black
girl.
suit.
D- no, I don't think so.
I can't remember. I need to
Eh,
rewatch them.
yeah, but so like the first Amazing Spider-Man, that's my favorite Spider-Man movie. But that's just because there's like, that like lovey-dovey emo aspect of it. And I don't know. I was just so drawn to that. Yeah.
I understand what you're saying completely there. As we look at wrapping this up, Minnie, because I do want to be respectful of your time and things like that, I'm curious to know before we talk about success, failure, and things like that. As somebody that's done some great interviews themselves and some great collabs themselves, where can I improve as an interviewer? What did you enjoy about this conversation? Everything in between.
Wow. What a bold question. Okay, so I liked this interview because you're not just going to rely on professional wrestling to carry the entire interview. You listen to the person and you just find questions from that, right? Um, and then you ask me what you could do better. Is that what you asked me?
Yeah, yeah. I can take criticism. It's cool.
I'm also not an interviewer, so I feel like I'm not the best to answer that, right? Like that's not my niche because
And
interviewing is, yeah. So it's just, I mean, the only thing that you could do better, I guess, but this is just like a personal thing, is just like, but you did have a conversation with me because that's my only tip. I'm like, just make it feel like a conversation, but we did have a conversation, so
mm,
yeah, yeah.
I understand. That's a really fine balance in an interview because I get comments all the time. Don't talk about yourself, dude. We've heard this story before. Or do you know what I mean? So it's a
Uh-huh.
really balance. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I've seen other so I get the don't talk about yourself, probably like don't overtake it. But I've seen interviewers like they hear somebody say something and they're like, "Oh, funny you said that because of this," like and they
Mm,
say like an anecdote of theirs. I think that's fine, you know.
mm. I know. It's just a very fine balance. And it's one
Hmm.
that I'm still working on. I'm not gonna lie.
Hmm. It's okay.
So as we look at wrapping this up, because like I said, I don't want to be respectful of your time. Um, when it comes to success, if you stepped away, actually, no, we'll go here first. What would it take for you to say, okay, I might step away from wrestling content creation?
That comes with success, the ability to actually be able to walk away and know that you've created a career out of it and that you're proud of it. That's success for me. I don't think I'll find success until I know that I can step away from my channels, from my content, from social media in that manner and know that I am okay. And that means financially, that
Mm,
means emotionally and mentally as well, right? Because it's like you have to think, oh, but what's my identity? What am I going to do after this? That's going to
mm,
be the peak for me, that I'm just going to be able to retire from wrestling content creation, which is crazy to say because I don't know if that I'll ever reach that point. I don't know if I could make a career out of this. I know people
Mm.
have, right? But it's just so scary because it's like there's new faces coming in. There's just so many things that happen. I'm 32 also. I life happens. It's just it's a crazy it's a crazy journey. Mhm.
Mm. Do you view the journey you've been on so far though, Minnie, as a success so far?
Yeah. And I have to give myself more credit. I am very hard on myself with that. And I have to remind myself, I had one video after 2 years of being on Twitch, garnering 7, 10 viewers,
Mm.
not all of my socials were also, they didn't have the numbers that they have now. After 2 years of doing that, I got on TikTok. I had one video go viral. I
Mm.
capitalized off that. I was creating 3 to 4 videos every single day. It became my life. I capitalized off that one video, and now I'm here. I've done work with 2K. I've been on WWE television. My reactions have been shown there. I've been able to connect with people that are actually in the industry. And yeah, yeah.
Mm. You talked about there your reactions being shown on WWE and things like that. What is your thoughts on WWE going not more mainstream, but I know what I mean, like embracing reactors, for lack of a better
They are a genius for doing that. I think other companies should start doing that, specifically AEW. I think they would benefit more because the so ever since WWE focused on that, and now they're focusing on fan signs, right? So they're telling the audience, we see you, we recognize you, and we appreciate it, right? Because to everybody else, we're like, I get told you're an adult acting like this on a fake sport and all of this, right?
way.
But whatever, you're gonna talk your talk. I don't really care. It's wrestling. Once you're a wrestling fan, you understand the experience of being a
Mm.
wrestling fan. But they're so smart because now what happened was there's a surplus of people who are doing what I do now, you know? There
Mm.
are so many people who want to get in the game of wrestling content creation, and that's only going to make WWE bigger, even though they're global and huge. But now there's so much interest with becoming a content creator, with specifically WWE, right? So I think they're so smart for it.
What about, you talked about there, you might get told you're an adult acting like this within
Mhm.
wrestling. So how do you deal with, and you said like I don't care, but like how do you deal with some, you might get negative comments on streams or
Mhm.
videos and
Mhm.
things like that. How do you deal with negative comments?
Um, it's something that I think I'm okay with negative comments. Sometimes what they say is funny. Um, but nothing really gets to me just because how do I word this? My mom is my biggest roaster. My mom keeps me humble. She will not tell me nice things. And I'm not saying she's mean, but she did it on purpose, right? I didn't grow up being coddled. Not at all.
It gave you a thick
Um,
skin, for lack of a better word.
yeah, yeah, I have thick skin. Like I was wearing a Barbie shirt the other day and I tweeted about this. My mom sees it and then she
Oh,
was just
I've
like,
seen it.
Barbie, huh, you wish fat ass. And I'm like, I was like, Mom. And then I was like, damn. I was like, so for me, because my mom does that to me, I just find it funny when people do it to me as well, which I don't know, but I appreciate that. I appreciate like, Mom, you did a good job. I understand now what you did, you
Mm.
know? Yeah, I have thick skin.
I understand what you're saying completely there. You brought up wearing a Barbie shirt, so that's led me to another transition. Thoughts on the Barbie movie, quickly?
That was a really good movie. That was so I actually was only able to see it because I was on a flight and they had it. Um that was such a good movie. The message behind it was so good. I was like, this is incredible. If they ever have a Barbie 2, I'm watching it. Also, the John Cena mermaid Barbie or whatever he was, it's hilarious.
I love that story of how that came about as well.
Mm.
Just apparently, I don't know if you've heard this, but Margot said it in an interview, Margot Robbie. I always feel weird calling celebrities by their first name. Anyway, Margot Robbie was like, "Yeah, I saw him out to dinner because they were shooting Fast and Furious in the same lot, I believe." And she was like, "Do you want to come be a merman?" He was like,
Mm.
"That'd be fun." I love that story. I think that's really.
Yeah, I love that story too.
As we wrap up, before we do generic wrestling questions, I'm curious to know if you did step away, Minnie, what would you want your legacy as a creator to be?
I just want to be seen as someone who brought joy and entertainment. Um, I don't necessarily want to be seen as, oh, she was so educational. She taught us so much about wrestling. It's more about if I teach you guys anything is just to enjoy life, to not
Mm.
take yourself too serious. Professional wrestling is a beautiful thing because I grew up admiring Kurt Angle, even though he was acting like a goof and he was talking about all these weird stuff and doing all this weird stuff. But because of him, I take a lot of credit because that's who I looked up to. Now, well, my entire life, I never took myself seriously. I was okay with being the butt of the joke. I think there's like a strong confidence behind that as well, right? You build your confidence because you're okay to be the butt of the joke. It's life isn't serious. So if I want anything from my legacy is that. Like it's like I want people to say thank you. Like I don't take myself seriously because of you.
That's a beautiful way to end this, if I'm honest, Minnie. But before we do, we're going to do a very quick segment that is a staple on this channel called generic wrestling questions. Those of you that
Mhm.
have seen my interviews before, a nice way I'll ask Minnie. Favorite match, favorite pay-per-view card, such as Double or Nothing 2019, for example. Favorite wrestler's entrance theme, favorite tag team, and favorite wrestler. Basically, the questions I assume you're asked in on social media or in live streams. So now you'll have a place to be like, guys, I have answered this. Please tell us. So what's your favorite match?
Favorite match? That is such a hard question. Mostly because there's so many of my favorite matches. But I will have because I spent 2 days of my life just watching this on repeat. I would say it was United Empire versus Bullet Club War Dogs. It was a steel cage match and it lasted an hour and 4 minutes, I believe.
Mm,
And I spent like my 2 days just having that in the background and just watching it. I can't remember the pay-per-view of that. I can't remember what the pay-per-view name was, but it was in New Japan, so I would say that's my favorite match.
that's really, really cool. What about your favorite overall pay-per-view card?
Overall card, I mean, you did say a good one, and that was also when AEW was so hot too. What they were doing was great. My favorite, actually, I Backlash 2023. That's the recent one that I can think of that I'm like, oh, that was a
That's
good
Puerto
card.
Rico, man.
Yeah, that was a.
Yeah,
I watched it recently again. I was like, it was a good pay-per-view. Bad Bunny, Savio Vega, and the Carlito one was so unexpected, even though he's Puerto Rican. But I never in my mind, and there was no dirt sheets on it too, at least not that I saw. So that was a complete surprise.
that's really, really cool. What about your favorite wrestler's entrance theme?
Ooh, yeah, that one's hard. Favorite theme or the theme with the entrance?
The theme with the entrance.
Theme with the entrance, because it makes it so much more cool. I'll go with this isn't my favorite theme, but I'll say the theme with the entrance. Go with AJ Styles.
Mm.
Because it's just so cool. Like it just
Is
reminds me
this
of him
his
debuting.
debut theme? You know,
Yeah, yeah, that he brought back at the Rumble, and that took me back because I was like, oh my God, it's like his debut. It's just so cool. Like they won nut, and it's cool. I don't know how to explain it. Yeah.
what is your favorite overall wrestling entrance song then, just without the entrance itself?
Um, there's so many. There's because there's Metalingus, Slow Chemical, but I'll go with Christian. There's so many. Favorite theme? I'll go with Metalingus.
That's my favorite as well, so I agree.
Yeah.
Thoughts on the Australians singing it last weekend?
Beautiful. Keep doing it. And they tried to do it, but they didn't give them the time, right? Because Cope just came out and like he just started brawling. So they didn't give him the time, but I love it. Keep doing
What's on the Coke thing? Super quickly.
it. I'm okay with it. Whatever, man.
I understand what you're saying
Yeah.
completely. So you talked about favorite interesting. What about your favorite tag team?
Ooh, favorite tag team? Male, well, with men. Okay, so men, Hardy Boys, but an underrated tag team that I actually really, really, really love, and I mean, I don't want to say underrated, but honestly, they could be in the top five conversation. Team Hell No, and then for the women's, my favorite tag team was Lay Cool. Mhm.
Mm, that's really, really cool. Thoughts on Michelle McCool going into the Hall of Fame?
I love that. And I love how it was presented. And I love that the Undertaker was there because you just saw their you just saw that like the genuineness in Undertaker where he just turned around because he knew what was happening. And Michelle McCool's reaction so well deserved. So well deserved because we're talking about women's wrestling and she's one of the women who pioneered women's
Definitely,
wrestling to be what it is right now. Yeah.
definitely. She's someone that I think if we had a DeLorean and she was mixing it up in her debut today, she'd be phenomenal. And she's
Hmm.
the GOAT, I think. Anyway,
Yeah.
speaking of the GOAT, Minnie, funniest, biggest generic wrestling question. Who is your favorite overall wrestler?
Kurt Angle.
Why does he speak to you?
How does he speak to me?
Sorry, why does he like? Why is he your favorite?
Why is he my favorite? So with everything I said, but before, just like with him not taking himself seriously. But the thing about that, you're an Olympic freaking gold medalist that you won with a broken freaking neck. You're one of the greatest technical wrestlers of all time. You're just one of the greatest overall wrestlers in ring work. You're a goat. And then topped with your characters throughout your career that you had, topped with just being a silly goofball and then just him on the mic just talking about a bunch of gibberish and stuff and he was so okay with doing it all. Well, I don't want to say that he was okay with doing it all. But he was, he's like, okay, it's a job, it's a work. I think he's the greatest of all time.
WB, three Kurt Angle questions. TNA Kurt Angle or WWE?
WWE Kurt Angle speaks to me more just because that's who I grew up with, like that's my Kurt Angle. TNA Kurt Angle, I wasn't watching it live, but I did go back and watch a bunch of his stuff. I think overall for his career, I think TNA Kurt Angle. But for my personal preference, I'm gonna say WWE.
No, I don't want to bring this conversation back. Actually, we'll do this question first. Favorite Kurt Angle match?
Favorite Kurt Angle match, Kurt Angle versus Chris Benoit. And I said his name, Lord Voldemort. Um, Yeah. And I'm trying to think of was it what PLE was that or pay-per-view? Was that Mania? No, it wasn't Mania. What was
The
it?
Rumble 01, I
Was it the yeah. Okay,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not good at like recollecting the exact pay-per-view and stuff like that. Yeah.
I am. It's a slight tick of like, couldn't tell you any general knowledge, but wrestling knowledge, I'm pretty good. So, and then just quickly show you our Baron retiring Corbin. Baron retiring Angle. Pause.
I'm okay with it because Kurt Angle was so okay with it.
I
Hmm.
understand.
Hmm.
As we wrap this up, Minnie, obviously I want to say thank you for a great conversation. But the question I end this show on is I believe as YouTubers, podcasters, even just people with social media, we're all sort of going to live forever in a very, very strange way if you think about the world. So, what is one piece of content you're like, I'd like to be remembered for that? And then what is one that you're like, yuck, please forget about that?
I used to host dating shows when I first popped off and like I would bring in just the random well whoever joined the dating show and I amplified this or I got this character and I would say a lot of sussy jokes. I like that's my humor, but I
Mm.
amplified it. I would like people to forget that because I was saying a lot of crazy stuff for the purpose of entertainment. Again, thanks, Kurt Angle. But so I would want people to forget about that. Something that I'm very proud of. I I don't have one specific, well, I mean, I have specific videos that I like over the others, but I think in general, I just want, I'm just proud of my personality and what I bring into the game.
Hmm, that's a beautiful way to end this. But as we do, please promote yourself. Where can the good people find you, your work, etc.?
Yes, mini portable everywhere. It's mini portable at YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram.
It's well worth doing, guys. One of the hardest working people in this space, but one of the nicest as well. So if you guys like this, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Tom Talks Rubbish on YouTube. Follow me on Twitter or X at Tom Talks Rubbish, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye now.
Thanks for watching this Tom Talks Rubbish conversation. Before you go, please make sure you leave a like on the video, share it around and subscribe to Tom Talks Rubbish on YouTube, as well as follow Tom Talks Rubbish on Twitter/X.